Hello, it's Linda, and this channel we talk about finance and really any other ramblings I have at the moment. And in this video, I wanted to share a really important financial milestone that my husband and I reached. We are net worth millionaires. Woo, woo, woo! So this is an amazing milestone that I didn't think I would reach in my 30s. And I want to share the journey to there, specifically from my point of view, since I want to save the privacy of my husband some, and also because I was planning on track to reach $1 million all on my own in my 30s anyways. So I want to share the journey on how I got here and hope you guys enjoy the video. So first I wanted to talk about the story of my upbringing, and then we'll get into the strategy I've maybe used along the way in the recent years. So before I was even born, before I came into existence, there were my parents. My parents came to the US from Laos during the war, so they are refugees, and they definitely started with humble beginnings here in the States. My dad came with $20 in his pocket and a dream. And over the years, they've really worked their way up to provide a nice life for myself and my brother. And starting out, they both worked in fast food and tried to find jobs where they could. My dad found a job in the transportation industry as a mechanic and then worked his way up to supervisor and was there for over 30 years until he retired. And my mother got into the hospital industry as a scheduler and worked there for 30 years as well. And so that's where we started out. Through the years, I've witnessed how we've been able to save money and be frugal and resourceful in many things. Some things that, like, even as a child, I hate to say it, I was embarrassed by, but looking back, it really showed the foundation of how we brought up. Some examples I remember is I remember one year we didn't have a sled for snowing, but we had this old boogie board, so my dad used that. And that actually probably was the funnest toy that the neighborhood kids loved as well, because we went really fast on it. Another memory I have of maybe being a little embarrassed, and it's just so silly now that I think back at it is my dad had this old pickup truck that he kept for so many years. It was like a small Toyota Tacoma, and I just remember being embarrassed being driven to school in it sometimes. But yeah, so but now I look back and like that truck was really, really useful for hauling stuff and really good vehicle in general, and it lasted so many years. So I grew up with my parents keeping their cars for decades, and just being resourceful where we could. And I feel like I grew up really privileged, where I didn't feel like we were really lacking for much at the same time. Like, we got what we needed, and with some extras on top of it as well. So even though I might have been embarrassed by little things here and there my parents did to save money, I'm really grateful for my upbringing, and that kind of sense was instilled in me as I grew up. So some of my earliest memories of how I started handling money, I was always a really meticulous kid with numbers, especially when it came to my dollars that I owned. So every allowance that I got, the $5 every week, I would track it. I would actually have a piece of paper where I made my own ledger, accounting ledger, and like track what was incoming, what's outgoing. And Even a dollar or two I would spend at the vending machine, I would put a line saying vending machine snack, $1, minus $1, and then total it up at the end. So I was very, very meticulous. Even as a little kid in elementary school, I remember keeping track of my expenses and spending. Now, fast forward to today, I'm not as meticulous with that spending. I would say I do something like intuitive budgeting, where I have a set amount of money I would spend for certain items, and if it's like above that dollar amount I have in my head, then that's where I like sometimes pause and think about it more or don't buy it. But yeah, I still keep a budget. Maybe I track it every 2 weeks, and just so I could like get the bills paid on time and everything. And it's not handwritten anymore, even though there is a good exercise for having some things handwritten that I still do every now and then. But my budget, it's all on my spreadsheets, my Google Sheets and stuff. And so that's kind of my upbringing and mindset with how I was taught to handle money. And going into when I started college and making money, I actually graduated with debt. So about $30,000 in debt. And then I did end up taking on a little bit more debt. I got a new car, and it was a Hyundai Elantra. So I did take that on because I was like, I have a big girl job now, let's ball out a little bit. But I have to say, I still have that car today. It's 13 years old. 14 years old coming up, and it's got over 130,000 miles on it, and I still want to keep it some more years, or at least maybe one more year. We'll see how long it lasts, but I'm definitely running that car to the ground. But yes, I did start off with debt, and I worked my way to pay it off. There were a lot of things I said no to throughout the years. A lot of material things, whether it was social or travel events that cost too much in my mind. So saying no to that girls' trip in Florida because it was out of my budget. We're still friends today. Saying no to that concert that was over $200. In my mind, that was a lot to spend. And I actually went to my very first $200 plus concert this year. So I did end up finally spending more as I reached closer to $1 million. But yeah, I've just been really frugal along the way. I lived like a poor, other than maybe buying a new car or choosing to live alone in an apartment or my house. I did definitely try to live like a poor college student for a good 10 years after I graduated. And that mindset really helped me instill savings and such. So that's a little bit of how I went on to spend money. Now, with making money, I have another video where I show the projection of how much I made every year. So I started off at about $56,000 doing tech support. So I graduated finance and business major. It was hard for me to find a job. My GPA was not the best, but I was lucky enough to be able to get into tech support and get my foot in the door into a pretty big data business, data intelligence company. So of course, starting at the bottom, answering calls, even being on call 24/7 overnight. If you guys have been in tech and been on those 24-hour calls, you might recall having to bring a pager home that would blare this huge horn whenever you got a call that you wake you up from your sleep. So I was in the trenches with those tech support guys for a good couple years. That job definitely taught me a lot of patience, perseverance, not easy. And so I worked my way up into management and started making 60, then 70, and then I eventually got into the 100K range. And throughout the years, it went up and down, where I did eventually get a job at Google, and that one was my highest with like all the benefits. I made about 180, 190, including the RSUs and the benefits as well. And in between, I've been laid off sometimes for a large amount of time. So my income has fluctuated throughout the past 13 or so years. And right now I'm sitting at about 100K at my latest job. So that's the progression of my income. And it is a lot of money that I've made over the years, but I am also proud of like the savings that I instilled in myself as well. So that's kind of my journey to the $1 million net worth. I do want to add that my home sale recently has added a good chunk of that in. My home sale has added 200K extra to the net worth. So that's a big chunk. I think I made a smart decision when I got a home. I was able to work up my savings to put a down payment for a home at the age of 25. So that was 10 years ago. And I kept that home until I got married. And now I'm living with my husband and was able to sell that home. So other ways I grew my money, other than the real estate investment, was really just saving in a traditional investments, S&P, with the 401k, Roth IRA, and mutual funds. I really try to stay away from any speculative investments, no Bitcoin, any of that. I even try to steer clear of individual stock trading. I've tried to eliminate that some more. So it's really just been working a 9 to 5, real estate investments, and the stock market, investing in the safer options of the S&P. While that has gone down, up and down with my 401k Roth IRA investments over the past 10 years, it has averaged 10%. So that is pretty nice return. And I think I want to make a separate video of my real estate investment, exactly how that has grown throughout the years and with the final sale. Real estate is definitely risky as well. We all saw the crash of 2008 with the housing bubble. And right now it is kind of going into a slower market. I think it's turning more into a buyer market. So prices have been falling. I definitely had to cut the price of my house a couple times. So that's just things to look out for. I'll definitely make a separate video on just my investing journey and what I experienced with investing, especially with home sales and home buying as well. But yeah, that's my journey for going to a net worth millionaire in my 30s. I think alone right now, just to kind of make it more specific, my net worth alone is almost $900,000. And then marrying with my husband, he luckily had a positive net worth and really no debt. So we were able to combine that. And yeah, I think saving and working a 9 to 5 is a really powerful tool. And I know there's a lot of side hustles out there and entrepreneurship. And I think for myself, I'm quite lazy. And I just want to not have to concentrate on so many different things at the same time. And it gets confusing to me. So I think concentrating on finding where I could find work for a 9 to 5. But at this time, I know having $1 million net worth, it does open up a lot of options. And in regards to work and working a 9 to 5, I think I want to concentrate on seeing if I could actually quit my 9 to 5. And that journey will be coming up sometime in the future. I don't know when. So even though we are at this net worth right now, because of my plans of wanting to quit work, I believe we still have to really be careful with our spending and how we invest our money. We can't just go spending crazily here and there now that we've reached this milestone. We still have to be careful, but I want to be able to loosen the reins a little bit more because I have been so frugal in the past. But we still have our big goals, like not working, not having an income, at least for some years. That's gonna be taking a huge hit to our net worth, our finances. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know how long I want to stay unemployed. I know I just got a job recently, but the job that I signed up for was a term contract for 1 year. And even though my employer says they want to try to keep me on past that 1 year, you just never know in this economy, in this stage of life, of what's happening outside. You never know what's going to happen because I already got laid off earlier this year, and that was my second layoff. So I don't want to count on that job keeping me on past a year. So it's been 6 months currently at my job, and it's 6 more months until the contract ends, unless something else happens. But we'll see what we have in store for my employment going forward. But it's good to know we have a good buffer in case anything happens, and we could actually plan for taking some years off if we need to. And yeah, so that's my journey to being a net worth millionaire. Thanks for watching. Bye.